So you wanna play, do ya?
Hey He-Man fans, She-Ra fans, Skeletor fans, Hordak fans. It's another Masters of the Universe Origins review. Fisto showed up in stores. Luckily there's quite a few of them at local Walmarts and Toys R Us's because he's sold out at Big Bad Toy Store. Maybe they'll get some more in stock there, but let's take a quick look at some of the artwork on the back here. Toe to toe, hand to hand with Jitsu, his arch nemesis. I always like that Fisto's, I guess, his counterpart on Skeletor's group was Jitsu, because most of the masters, the heroes, the villains, they don't really pair up with anyone. I can't really think of Roboto pairing up against somebody, possibly Trapjaw, but these two really were yin and yang, just like He-Man and Skeletor. I like that Strider is in the back there, Stridor, since that is also Fisto's kind of sort of unofficial ride. And it's also nice to see Fisto on the packaging. Mattel had lost the trademark on the name Fisto. I think Hasbro had it for Kit Fisto, the Jedi Master, and so they weren't able to put out a toy with the name Fisto on it, but they've got it back. They had used Battle Fist for the 2000X release, which I'll be bringing out to compare this one with. But so cool to have an Origins Fisto, because there wasn't a commemorative reissue of Fisto. So if you want to have a mint on card style display, this guy will fit in perfectly with your original mint on card He-Man figures or your commemorative He-Man figures. One thing I have noticed on quite a few of these is most of them are looking down. So I like when I've got a figure mint on card and package, I look for, like, if I'm not going to open it, I look for feet that aren't turned in or hands that aren't backwards, heads that sort of look up. This one, I ended up picking up two of them, and the other one that I'm going to keep mint on card is looking up a little bit more than this one. But let's open this one up and take a look at how he stacks up to the vintage one. And I got really lucky with this one. A lot of the time with Mattel Masters of the Universe accessories, they're often warped, but not much warpage to this really nice Fisto sword, and it feels like it's made of a more rigid material than the vintage one is. Vintage Fisto over there. I'll bring him out in a second. And a mini comic Sucker Punch. It's a good name for a Fisto comic. No dialogue here, but if you've got a version, American version with the dialogue in it, feel free to fill me in on what's going on in the comment section below. And this one, I guess he's got a little lighter hair color than the original Fisto. Not exactly a Filmation look. In package, I thought, is he more of like a Filmation looking guy, kind of like what the Super 7 figures, retro style figures were doing. But no, he looks more vintage to me. I'm surprised they didn't include another hand. Some of them come with an extra hand. I guess that's more of a deluxe thing. If you want to display him with a sword, whoops. Removable arms as usual, but if you want to have him with a sword, I guess you'll always need his sword gripping hand. And the plus side is you can pose the fist now in ways you never could with the original one, not just because of the extra elbow, much needed elbow articulation and up down shoulder articulation, but also because they have removed the spring fist action. I gotta be honest with you, as nice as it is to be able to pose this, to have him really, readying the fist, it would have been so cool to have the spring-loaded fist action. When I see the gimmicks from the original ones carried over into the new ones, it's such a cool thing. Like Ram Man having a spring attack and Roboto having the gears that move inside him. Removing Fisto's battle fist spring action is disappointing. So it takes it from being a fun little toy that you can futz around with, or definitely kids would have a lot of fun having Fisto smashing things with the most powerful fist in the universe. This guy, he doesn't have the waist twist spring attack action that the original He-Man figures had, and he doesn't have the spring fist. So there's, they've taken two gimmicks away from a character that particularly could make good use of those spring actions. So he's a fun display piece, but no play value there, especially compared to the original one, unfortunately. No sword sheath on the back. I guess they're staying true to the original one, but a little loop there would have been cool in order to store the sword if you wanted to. And here he is side by side with the original Fisto, pretty close. The purples are really, really close. This one looks like he hasn't been tanning as much as the original one, and surprisingly, the new one is got shinier silver. Usually it's the other way around, but this new one has a much more shimmery, shiny silver, because it's a paint job. They've painted the silver parts here, whereas this is, I think, the material that they cast that in. They just painted the purple parts onto him. Head sculpts are very, very similar. I almost wonder if the Origins head sculpt is a recast of this original Fisto. Just some detail loss on the Origin one, if that is what they've done here. Kind of like the commemorative He-Man clearly has detail loss on it. And to compare the swords, the Origin sword is much better. So in some ways the Origin is better. Again, this sword is nice and rigid. Check out this vintage sword. I mean, it's nice that it'll never break, but it's just so floppy. That is much better. So if you're missing your sword for your vintage Fisto, then you can definitely give this guy an Origin sword and he'll look just perfectly fine with that. But here's the big advantage the original one has. You hold this back and get the fist pounding action, or pound down as well. And you can even have them fist bump each other, which the vintage one will always win that fist bump contest. Plus he has the waist twist. The problem with the original Fisto, he wasn't perfect either. Can't really get his arm to stay up. So even if you do use the waist twist, he's not really punching anyone with his fist. It's just keeping his fist at the side. So I guess he's always had some issues. Here's what I was talking about. You can actually pose this guy with his fist forward. Can't do that with this guy. The fist is articulated at the wrist. You can turn it, but you can't have it stay up. It'll always come down. So as a display piece that you'll never actually play around with, that's a nice bonus. And since all the new Origins figures are backwards compatible with the classic vehicles and vice versa, the old figures can fit in the new vehicles. Your Origins Fisto, with a little bit of futzing, it was a lot easier with the vintage one. It just slips right in there. The extra joints are they're bending in there. And this knee joint is getting caught on something. It doesn't slip right in there easily like the original figures do, but yeah, you can get him in there. That goes quite nicely. And the silver goes very nicely too. The extra shiny silver on the Origins Fisto looks quite nice with this vintage Stridor. And a couple of other Fisto comparisons. Here he is with the classics. Fisto, tons of detail on this one, but like the Origins, just a posable figure, no action play features. Got this beautiful, humongous sword on his back. And then there was the 2000X Battle Fist. And I believe I've painted his eyebrows a long time ago, painted them black in order to make him a little more Fisto-like. I just feel like black eyebrows with reddish brown hair is a Fisto trait. And this one, this could have been a cool idea to do with the Origins figure. Instead of having an arm that springs up and you lose posability with it, they had this fist actually punch out from the wrist. That would have been a cool idea, but I guess too much of a departure from how the original one was. This is a custom sword from years ago, and it just looks fantastic with this Fisto. But that's something they could have done here. Just have the fist push in and punch out, since they did change up Ram Man's ramming feature. So unlike with Scareglow or Ninjor, I can't really say this Fisto is a definite improvement over the original one. It's got some advantages over the original one. It has some drawbacks from the original one. So that's really up to you to decide, each and every individual collector, what you're looking for in a toy or in a collectible. You decide. Personally, when it comes to action figures, collectibles, if it's a high level of detail, I don't mind missing out on play features, which is what the Classics line is all about for me. It's more about the detail and posing these guys than futzing around and playing with them. I've put some of these guys on a shelf and haven't touched them for years. But when it comes to Origins, they look and feel so much like the original ones. I just feel like it should have a play feature if the original one had one, especially a prominent one like that. But feel free to share your thoughts in the comment spot. Thanks as always for watching this video, and to join the tribe, punch subscribe. Nerdness Day.